the sinks.
Yeah, it goes, that's why I'm on my legs.
Yeah. Now you can be like 10 times taller than me. Like.
And also, if you want to sit on those pillows.
Oh, yeah.
A rich man's world. I have turned the soul of this.
All right, well, Sabina, welcome to the Faking It podcast.
Oh my God, thank you.
We met 2 days ago. 3 days ago now.
True.
Yes.
Because you performed in my workshop showing.
Yes.
You just went straight into it. You said, oh, performing? Yeah, I don't know anyone yet. Sure.
Let's do it. We have to get in each other's faces. Maybe that's why I got a cold. Like,
yeah, maybe.
But it was so much fun, and I can't wait to share with everyone your story because I don't even know all of it yet, but I already know it's fascinating and that you're fascinating.
Thank you. Oh, goodness.
But yeah, do you want to share with everyone where we are, how you got here, a little bit about your childhood, and then we'll move on to everything great that you do right now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
So we're on Orcas Island, which is the wee little plot of land that I grew up on. We are in Deer Harbor, which is a neighborhood that's very west of like the main center of Orcas, which is called Town.
Wow. So we're on like the outskirts of this tiny island in the like Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, we're out here.
We're out here.
We're out. Yeah.
And we're out.
And we're out.
And we're out.
Exactly. So we're queer and we're here.
Yes.
Which is far away. So I grew up here in this like outskirts of this island, which is the outskirts of this continent. And I grew up without any public transportation, with a single parent. So I had to make a lot of entertainment for myself.
Yeah.
I moved here when I was 11, but we were coming up here for some time, like on the weekends.
Okay.
And when I moved here, I was already a dancer. Like I knew I wanted to be a ballerina.
Cool.
Or I really wanted to be a ballerina. And there wasn't much dance here at all. So I kind of had to find new ways of connecting with that part of myself, which wasn't always through movement. It was a lot through poetry and like sitting and thinking and just sort of being like inundated by the incredible nature here.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of being like quiet with myself, which I think was a great gift and a huge struggle because I wasn't very, stimulated here so much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Orcas living.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, driving out here, I got a little lost, and I just yelled your name and you heard me.
Yeah.
So hopefully that explains just, like, the culture, the community here, too. Like, I think something that's so beautiful about Orca is just from me being here for such a short amount of time is just how everyone knows each other and really, like, cares. Like, there's, like, the uncomfortable community living where it's, like, everyone knows each other's business and it sucks. Like, they all talk about each other.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's like that here. I didn't get that vibe, really. Do you want to talk about a little bit about, like, your identity as it relates to Orcas Island? Because I know that when I got here, it was very queer. But you were saying that was less like that when you were growing up. So what happened? Like,
I don't know what happened because I've been gone for like over a decade. Yeah. And I didn't get to really engross myself in the community here when I was growing up. Yeah. But when I was growing up, it was half as big population-wise. We had about 4,000 people here on a good day. Whoa. It's really teeny. And queerness at that time, like, mid-2000s, 2003 to 2011 or so, wasn't at the forefront the way it should have been, the way it is now.
Okay. Oh, okay. Interesting.
And it was not necessarily okay to be queer. There was a lot of like kids driving by and yelling the F word at people and using gay as a slur and like a lot of like anti-queer jokes happening all the time. But a lot of queer kids, like all of the kids that I hung out with are now super queer, or at least first stepping into their queerness now. Yeah. And now coming back, there's been this incredible shift where there is a community here of artists who are queer, who are interested in unpacking what that means and holding space for the queer youth that are on the island now. Right. Which is just like amazing.
Yeah. So your queerness, would you say it wasn't influenced by this island at all? It's kind of like something that you developed on your own and then like came back and was like, oh wow, people are like this too now? Was that like kind of what happened? Or
it was more like I realized I was bi in high school, and I came out because I thought it would be fine. Okay. And it was a little weird, but it was my senior year, and I was like, I can do this. I can be bi and then leave.
Right.
And then I think in Berlin, I really came into myself, realized that I was an expansive gendered person, non-binary.
Right.
And coming back here, I was met with people like me, which I've never experienced on this island.
Yeah.
What a miracle to have that. And all of a sudden, there's a ton of non-binary people, and they're all excited about it.
Yeah.
And that's... it's amazing.
No, what I think, like, two things. I want to go back to the Berlin and talk about that story. But before, I just think, like, this is my first time experiencing more of, like, the countryside plus, like, liberal queers.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, like, this combination I've never experienced before. Like, I didn't know it existed, you know? And I'm like, whoa, this is so cool. Like, I love this. It's like cool. All the best of, like, country living. Because there's so much amazing, like, qualities of that, like, country life, you know, like that blue collar life. And then also just, like, being queer and, like, gay and, like, just all of that is just, the combination's so cool. Like, I think it's just so cool.
There's so much in common, too.
Yeah.
Like,
interesting.
We got our bumpkins, and we got our queer hippies and our queer, like, you know, liberal artist people. But, like, there's a common thread of community and support, because I think in, like, countries, rural, small town living, community and support is vital.
Right.
Same in queerness.
Yeah,
like,
totally.
you gotta have your people. And when those two peoples come together and they see no problem with each other and they accept one another, this gorgeous, like, helping your fellow people, what's it called? Community, I guess, for lack of another term, comes out.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I've been buying up little things that for me represent the country folk of Orcas Island, like this visor.
Yeah,
it's like the golf course thing. Cool. And I have these, like, sunglasses now that are really sporty. And it feels really good to reclaim these more, like, really deep Orcas items and queer them. It feels like I'm combining the two polarizing ideals.
Did you feel living on this island that you, like, was it, like, homogenous at all? Like, did you feel that you had access to, like, all these different kinds of ideas? Like, how did you find your identity growing up in a very small, closed group of people?
Getting out of the small, closed group of people.
Got it.
Yeah, and getting out of the country, too.
Okay.
I feel like I was really taken up by the U.S. status quo, the beauty standards, the gender standards, and I really didn't know who I was or who I could be. So I wanted to get somewhere where all of what I know, like on a mediocre scale, was shaken up and thrown away.
Cool.
So I could rebuild.
So you kind of knew, like, this ignorance that you were living with.
Oh, yeah.
And you felt that, like, you felt, like, obligated to come, like, apply to these different standards of what it means to be, like, a woman, let's say, or, like, all these different things, but you knew that that wasn't everything. And so you're trying to find a place to just say, fuck this, and, like, discover yourself, which I think is really cool. I think, like, I can really relate to that, too. Growing up in my community, I felt, like, the same way. I knew when I was ready to leave that this isn't everything, but it's still everything that I knew, you know? And so it's hard to, like, know what it's like to be something else or do something else if you've never done it or seen it, you know, but you can know that it's there. And so I guess that's, like, a good message for everyone to hear, that you can be very aware if, let's say, this is not everything, you're able to know that even if you don't know there's what something else is, you know, that's fine. And that should be enough to go out there and to do the thing that you want to do, whatever it is. And so your thing was going to Berlin. Let's hear it. What's the story there? Why did you go? How did you go?
Oh boy. Okay. Yeah. So, I came from here, small town.
Right.
Went to a college, Hampshire College. Shout out Hampshire. Great place.
Shout out Hampshire.
Woo-hoo. In Massachusetts.
Okay.
Also small town.
Yeah.
It's a farm in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nothing.
Okay, so you're like, oh, I know this. This is familiar.
Yeah. But everyone's, like, young and hot and like, from different places. So
cool.
It was a little bit different. But still, like, tiny. I could handle it.
Right.
Then I moved to Seattle and I was like, ooh, this is just... something about this is not it. Like, it's too manicured in some way.
Okay.
You need money to maneuver in this space. And I'm coming from Orcas, where the barter system was the first economy here.
Interesting.
And still exists. Like,
wow.
There's a lot of... my mom has many traditions of, like, taking items from her garden, giving them away to neighbors, and then getting canned goods back or canning other neighbors. Like my stepdad, her partner, the way that they kind of started their relationship was he would like shoot animals in the area who were, you know, getting live, encroaching on crops and such.
Yeah.
And then we would get that animal or bits of that animal, and she would make food for the neighborhood.
Wow.
She would prepare pâtés and like from geese
Yum.
in the area. I know. It was really wild.
Yeah, and also I believe it. Like we get oysters from like Paul, you know, the guy who owns the house we're staying in, and like that's it's really cool.
That. Yeah, yeah. That's the community thing. This like country to liberal, you know, handoff.
Right.
It's around. So that like kind of beyond capitalist idea was something that I cherished and was important for me. I could see that. I had that for me. And even though Germany is still a super capitalist place, Berlin felt like a little bit more DIY, somewhere where you could really just experiment with something or try something. And so from Seattle, I was like, couldn't make enough money to survive. I was working way too much. I had a theater company, and was dancing, and I was just overworked and lost, young and confused. I'd never been to Berlin.
Cool.
I didn't have any money.
Okay.
I had no resources. I'd never gotten a visa before. I had no shit. I couldn't even I didn't know how to fill out paperwork to get insurance. I didn't know anything. I was just a little baby. I was 24. And I just gave away or sold like 80% of all of my belongings.
Wow.
Packed a backpack and a suitcase. Had my foam roller with me.
Nice. Very important. As a dancer, especially.
Yeah, need that.
Yeah.
And then I flew to Berlin, and it worked. It was a place I needed to be.
Cool.
And my intuition brought me there.
Yeah.
I just knew I had to go there specifically. I've never been screamed at by my insides so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually know what that feels like so much.
You know how that feels. Yeah, please tell me.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many examples I can give, but I'll give two recent examples.
Please.
Yeah. Okay, so one, I was supposed to do, and a lot of people from the show know this too, I was going to do this job, work at a startup.
Okay.
And I was planning on doing it. I was set, everything was set, everything was going smoothly. It was in September, and I was in New York City, and I was doing this founders house program thing where for 1 month I get to live with these other female founders, which was really great.
Wow, okay.
And I was doing that as an intermittent to finding an apartment in New York City because I was gonna move there and work at the startup, and everything was gonna be great, you know. But yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so, but as the month of September was coming to an end, and I had to find this apartment. Usually, you find an apartment it takes 2 weeks in New York City because the turnover rate's so fast.
Wow.
Yeah, so you wait till you're 3 weeks out to when you want to move in. That's when you start to look. So now I'm at 2 weeks. I'm okay, I really need to find this apartment. Yeah. And every night when I go to sleep, my stomach starts to hurt when I think about finding an apartment. And yeah, it's this pain. It's this stress below my ribs, and I'm very familiar with this. It's there's something wrong, you know. Yeah. And so I go to sleep over, and then this happens again and again. I'm okay, what's wrong? Why am I feeling this way? So I'm look down at my gut. I'm what is it? Tell me. What do you want? I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing. This is gonna be good. There's security, stability with my family. This is all great, you know. Why am I feeling this way? And then I was there's this voice inside of me. It's Miriam, you want to go back to school. Yeah. You're not done with Stanford yet. You're not done studying. Yeah. Even though I could have gotten my degree. I finished my engineering degree. Yeah. And I was
okay. Jesus. Yeah, that's why you're so good with numbers. Thank you so much.
Of course. I don't know what you're referring to, but...
well, last night we had a little card game, and the kababa.
Oh, kababa. Yeah.
Forgot the name of it. I've played it so many times now. It's a big thing in this current community that we're in. It's a good game. And I couldn't add up the simple numbers in front of me, and you're it's 30. I'm thank God. You're an engineer.
There we go. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Of course. But yeah, my gut was you want to go back to school.
Oh, okay.
And so then like a week before the semester started, I signed back up for school. And I just like quit everything I was doing and I just went. I just left. And like, I'm so grateful I made that decision. It was like where I needed to be, what I wanted, you know, and it was like, you know, sometimes your body just tells you this is what you need to do. Yeah.
Thank God for that. Sometimes it sucks because your brain and your body have different ideas, but your body is always right. It's nuts.
I think the reason why that is because of our conscious and unconscious minds. So this is my theory on it.
Tell me.
Okay, so my theory on it is that we know what we want. That's our unconscious like self. So it's not something that we explicitly think. Our conscious minds, what we're like thinking about, like when we talk to ourselves in our heads, our words in our mind. Yeah, that's like our like the thinking box in our head, whatever you want to call it.
I like that.
Thanks. I think I read that somewhere. But anyways, yeah. So the unconscious is what like our bodies like. This is what we want. This is what we want to do. And then our conscious mind is what we tell ourselves what we want. Very frequently, when we feel hungry, we can, as like somebody who's had an eating disorder, for example. You know when you're hungry, you feel hungry, you know, that's your body saying, I'm hungry, feed me. But then your conscious mind, your thinking box can say, but don't eat. Because you want to be skinny, or you want this, you want that, or it's all these outside forces weighing in on how you want to act, not how you actually feel. And so I think that's why, like, our unconscious, our body tells us what we want, because it's not influenced as much by, like, the outside surroundings. When our mind, we can trick our minds. We can say, like, no, I'm not going to eat right now, even though we need to eat, you know, even though that's not what's good for us. And so that's, like, my theory on it a little bit, is that our body is telling us, no, this is good for you, do that. Despite what everyone else says, you know, the outside world and everything.
Yeah, and I think a large part of like emancipating oneself from their childhood, which I think is something that everyone kind of is on the journey of doing in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s,
Right,
60s.
totally.
Like it's
facts.
Yeah,
I love that.
Reparenting yourself is really hard. Because I think a lot of the way that our patterns were formed not by us, but by those around us. So finding those patterns is a journey. And a lot of that journey is connecting your body's intuition with your mind's intuition. I mean, the body and mind arguably are the same thing. There's a lot of like schools of thought around that. So don't at me, but
it's a whole like study of philosophy on mind and body. So it's
also like biologically, there's like you store a lot in your muscles, and then there's a whole like somatic practice where like your mind, it's the mind body. There is no difference. But sometimes there is, because we can trick ourselves cognitively, but we cannot trick ourselves physically. That's just, well, I guess we sort of can.
But, whatever.
But this that like, you know, mind to body connection is really hard to remake. I think that's a big part of growing.
What do you mean by reparenting?
Like,
I love that word. I love it.
I know, it's really sweet. Providing the care and support for yourself. At least this is my personal definition. Providing the care and support for yourself that maybe you did not get by your parent when you were a child, when you were being developed.
Cool.
Saying it's okay, regulating your own self. If you're in an uncomfortable situation, pinpointing your needs and giving yourself those things are really lovely. So, treating yourself like you're a little baby and trying to make sure that you're safe.
Cool. I love that. It's like, if let's say your parent gives you shitty advice, then like have your own imaginary parent in your mind give you good advice, you know? And like, that's my mom right now. And I love that. That's such a cool way to look at it. It's really cool.
It's tough though, because you have to be the parent and the baby at the same time.
Parts. Have you heard of like parts, like therapy?
No, tell me.
Oh my God. It's so great. Okay, so this has allowed me to have an orgasm.
God, tell it to me. Oh my God. Wow, love that.
Okay, so parts is when I was in sex therapy, because I could not have an orgasm, and I was like, sucks, you know?
I have a similar story. But
cool. So maybe you can share if you want after.
Sure.
But my sex therapist, she's like, okay, imagine this like part of you that is just like stopping you from feeling pleasure. And like, what does it look like? Like, what is it called? And so in my mind, it was like this giant hamburger.
Fuck that hamburger.
With like really scary pointy teeth
Oh,
and like
no.
huge, it was like giant,
Oh,
you know?
that's scary.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So like you have to like come up with this like this idea in your head of like what it looks like this part of you that's like you can't experience pleasure, you're not allowed to do it, like blah blah blah, you know? And then it's like imagine what part of you looks like pleasure. What do you want to call it? So for me, I called it the pleasure princess.
I love that.
And it was like just, you know, like me just like naked and super hot and like everything like that.
Fuck yeah. Sorry, can I swear? I'm
Oh
so
yeah,
sorry.
you can swear.
So many times.
Yeah, you can swear as much as you want.
Shoot yes.
Fuck yes.
Yeah. F you.
Fudge yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So you were the pleasure princess, naked and gorgeous.
And then like they're talking to each other and you're, you know, and you're like say what, like you just like act it out and it just really helps just like characterize these identities of yourself and then overcome them. So it's like a form of therapy, parts therapy.
Oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I forgot why I brought that up, but
reparenting.
Yeah. So,
wow, that's lovely. I also had a large problem with sex for a long, long time. I had vaginismus for 6 years.
That's when like the vagina is like tight,
super tight,
Yeah.
and so painful. I've like seen colors.
What?
Like, I've also spat genitalia out of my vagina before.
What does that mean?
It's like I had some genitalia come in, and then my vagina went.
Oh.
And it went.
No, rejected.
Yes. And another thing about like connecting your body to your mind, or to your intuition to your cognitive self. Like I just wasn't listening to my body saying, "No, I'm not ready for this yet."
Yeah.
And I didn't have my first orgasm until I was 21.
Same.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
It takes some time, and it's a long journey. And there's so many different kinds of orgasms.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy that we're now orgasming. That's great.
Ugh, I know.
Yeah.
So nice.
But there's nothing wrong with not being able to orgasm yet either.
Or not wanting to. Yeah. Or like, I feel like I'm on the A spectrum, which is this asexual, not being interested in sex. There are times in my life where I really do not want that. Doesn't mean that I am asexual, because that would be claiming a term that's not mine, but I feel like I'm on the spectrum of that.
Cool.
But I also love an orgasm.
Yeah. No, I just like have friends who are always wondering if they're asexual.
Yeah.
But there could be a spectrum for that too, which I think is really cool. So maybe sometimes you're just not in the mood of sex for like a long period of time.
And that makes me so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's incredible, understanding and owning your sexuality. And there's a lot of shame around not wanting to be sexualized and not wanting to sexualize, which is a bit backwards for me. And I want that bubble to burst.
What do you mean?
I think a lot of times friends of mine will say things like, I'm feeling really asexual right now, and that makes me feel sad and like unwantable somehow. They join it with unlovability. Yeah. Just because they don't want to have sex. But that's your prerogative. Like, right. That's your, boulder to sit on for the moment. I don't know why, but I imagine like a mermaid on a little rock.
Mermaid.
Like, I'm above this water. I don't want to fuck it. And then, maybe eventually you go back in. But you don't have to. I think that's pretty badass.
Yeah, just be the mermaid,
Just lay in the sun.
Yeah, and also I think one of the reasons like people tend to feel this way is because I think we're in this point with like female sexuality where it's like very empowering to fuck, and it's like, oh yeah, like I hook up and like that's cool. Yeah. And so it makes it harder for us to be like, actually, I don't want this sex. Yes. It's like we're allowed to fuck a lot of people now. We're not sluts anymore. But now that like pushes us to fuck a lot of people. So maybe that has something to do with it too. Like we need to learn how to say no to sex and say, I don't want sex for this long period of time, and that be okay too, which it is. Yeah. So
I think that's a great observation. Yeah.
Thanks.
I agree with that.
Cool.
Yeah. Understanding the nuance of your sexuality is a really, what's it called? Not emancipating, but like
empowering.
Yep. Thank you so much for reading that perfectly. You speak my language.
I got you.
I really appreciate that. Yes. Empowering thing to do for oneself, because you're seeing yourself as the human and the creature that you are, and not like the gender that you are or the box that you need to fulfill.
Well, something else that's very empowering is the hug research that I participated in that you put together. Do you want to talk a little bit about contemporary dance and like how you got into it, what it even is, because I barely know what it is, even though I'm now a contemporary dancer.
You certainly are professionally, kind of.
Professionally, yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. I can give you my take on it.
Okay.
Because contemporary dance is a huge term, huge umbrella with a lot of history. And I am like one, I'd say very contained perspective as like a white, able-bodied, reading a cis person. Because contemporary dance spans so much. There's so much. It's very juicy.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's good shit. So basically contemporary is whatever like fusioned, I'd say, dance or whatever dance is like of the now, right now.
Okay.
And that can be influenced by, right now it's really influenced by a lot of like hip hop techniques and like general community dance techniques. It's built off of the back of modern dance and also ballet.
Cool.
But it's ever expanding and it can include just about anything.
What's modern dance?
Modern dance is what happened as a response to ballet and vaudeville. And it's a more experimental dance.
What's vaudeville? Sorry.
Vaudeville is like jazzy, tappy,
cool.
Broadway kind of thing, more or less. Again, these are my
more or less
personal definitions, so I might be wrong, and that's fine.
That's fine.
You can discuss it.
Yeah.
But so modern is experimenting more with the weight of the body, reaching it and tipping it and falling on the floor and falling through space. Pina Bausch is a German choreographer who's, I think, kind of postmodern, early contemporary work. Some of the most beautiful work I've ever seen. Really, really simple.
Cool.
But I think the thing that contemporary has that I love is understanding that movement is a monologue. At least the contemporary dance that I like to watch is where I can see my human experience through abstract, unexpected movement. That's really fun to see.
Okay. I mean, like, you see my face is just like,
yeah, okay.
Okay, so wrapping my head around it, because I don't know too much about it, obviously.
This is great, then.
Yeah. So contemporary dance is, like, dance that is current based off of, like, the latest kind of dance stuff, which was, like, ballet and modern dance, and the other one that you mentioned that I forgot, jazzabo.
Hip hop,
right?
Vaudeville. No, vaudeville's not an name.
Okay. But I said jazzabo, so I'm gonna be
jazzabo. Love jazzabo.
Yeah, me too. So good. Okay, and it's just like, it's like abstract. It could be abstract. It could not be also, but yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
It's a hard thing to define because it's so vast. It's just like not ballet.
So what's your niche in it then?
I'm still learning that as a young choreographer.
Cool.
Almost 30, which for me is very young in terms of choreographers. But for me, my niche, I'm coming from ballet when I was younger, then into clowning and theater.
Okay.
And like counter technique, which is a technique for contemporary dance. Out of the Netherlands and Australia.
Cool.
Anouk van Dijk.
Yeah.
I think I have to say that for copyright reasons.
Okay.
She started it. So my niche is like very theatric, very approachable, very cognitive and dancer forward.
Yeah.
And also I love trying to move the body as like different objects other than the body.
What do you mean?
Like sometimes I like to dance like a crumpled up piece of paper or like an alien dropped into my body and I was trying to figure out how to move it.
Why?
Because it's really fun.
Is that why?
No, for more reasons.
Okay. Because that's a good reason though.
That's a good reason. Yeah. Well, I think that's the only reason. Like, well, there's
that's
more.
It's
the main reason. I like to relearn that my body is this toy that my brain can control.
Okay.
Where it can be anything I want it to be based on how strong my daydream is. That helps me rewrite what society has tried to paint on me, which is shame about my body.
Okay.
And instead take it as my own, as something that I can explore and just play with. I mean, accessing play with the body is such an empowering thing.
Totally.
It breaks you away from shame.
Yeah.
From hate of your corporeal meat sack.
No, I think there's a certain way that we're expected to move through this world. There's a certain way that we're supposed to like greet people, fuck people, you know, like all of these different things. And something that is so cool, like even doing this one like project with you, just like the tasks you gave us is pretend that there's tar all over your body and then like move, you know, and like you look weird while doing that, and it seems uncomfortable, you know, and it's like I'm not used to contorting my body in these ways, and like it is beautiful, and also it is like new and empowering in some way to just like experience your body and just pretend, you know, and like use your imagination and like all of that. It is very uncomfortable because I feel like as people in the society, we don't tend to play like that with our bodies and with our minds, you know, and so that I think it's really cool that that's how like what you do with your like your life, and that's what your work. I think it's amazing. I really do.
Can I ask you what your experience was with this workshop? That you just really jumped into?
Yeah. So for some context, it was on hugs.
Yes.
Exploring. Want to give the quick gist of it?
Yes. So we ran, but I was the facilitator of it was a 4-week workshop once a week for like an hour and a half. We came together and just tried to figure out how many different kinds of hugs that we've experienced in our lives. What does hugging mean to us? Yeah. It's a global and like multi-species phenomenon. So many different animals hug for so many different kinds of reasons.
Like what animal? Like what's an example?
I think apes also hug as a form to show dominance.
Cool.
And also to carry their young. It's like wrapping your arms around somebody else's torso is such a ubiquitous thing. And I'm really curious about it because it happens in our lives. Like if you could tally up all the hugs in your life, I'm sure that you've had like over 100 different kinds of hugs. Oh yeah. And thought so many different thoughts while doing that. So it's something that I think we can all recognize. And I really want to dig into it. I want to see more of what we can do with that. Yeah. So you can use dance also as a way to explore just like human behavior. Absolutely. Yeah. Which is really cool. So I guess I can share my experience. Please. Okay. So let's see. There's so much to say. One thing coming in, which was really timely, was that a couple days before we did that, I was walking in Washington Square Park in New York City, and there was this girl that was crying on a bench. I know. And so I was with my friend. What? We've all been there. We've all been there. Yeah. She was like looking at her phone crying, you know? Baby, yeah. And so I was walking with my friend, and my friend was telling me about her like relationship drama. And so I felt bad like pausing her and like saying like, but I wanted to go to this person and give them a hug. Yeah. And so I said to her, I was like, I want to give that girl a hug. And my friend's like, go, do it. And I was like, I am going to do it. Yeah. And so I go up to her and I say, do you want a hug? And she says, yes. And then she stands up and we just hug for like, for like 15 seconds. And I'm like rubbing her back and I'm like, it's going to be okay. And then, and that was it. And I walked away and like, that was that moment, you know? Powerful. And it was really powerful. Yeah. And so it just like going to the hug, that's like the first thought that came to my head going to like that practice was that I had that experience and like how powerful hugs are. But my biggest takeaway was just the very physical element of that exercise. Because for me, I'm also someone who like conducts research. And the ways that I do that is through app development, you know, through interviewing people, through like creating tech projects. Like for example, my mom and I created this like
like on a wall, I forgot what it's called, like on a wall in New York City, we like got all these artists to like put little stars on the wall and write like something that empowers them for being a woman, because it was like supposed to like raise awareness for like the Iranian women's rights movement.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it was a mural. And so like doing stuff like that and getting all these and seeing what everybody says, you know? And I think what you do that's so cool is that you do this research through the body and through movement. And so like I never thought about that as like a means to doing research and like understanding people, which
cool.
Yeah, which is really interesting. And what I took away from that research is just like, I think I mentioned this, but I'll say it again, is how I haven't been so intimate with those many kinds of different bodies that were also participating in the exercise. Like people I've hooked up with, they all kind of look the same, you know, like people that I hug, it's like they all are kind of from my life. Like I'm not hugging that many people, that many older people. Like I only hug my grandmother. That's it. She's like the only old person that I hug. Yeah. So it's fun for me to hug an older person that wasn't my family member. Yeah. And just like do that, you know?
My family member.
Your mom.
Yeah. You hugged my mom.
I hugged you.
It's so cute.
It meant a lot to me.
Yeah, she's a great hugger.
Yeah.
She is. She's, you can't see this, but she's sitting in a little rocking chair on the deck.
Yeah, with her visor. Like mama, like daughter. Or
I know. Offspring, we're still trying to figure it out.
Yeah. Like mama, like offspring.
Yeah. Kid, adult kid.
Okay, okay. Now I think it's a good segue into the next thing that we can talk about.
Yes.
Which is gender identity.
Yeah. Oh, a small little topic that no one knows about.
When I was speaking to my sister the other day, and she's like, how's the island? I was like, it's great. And she's like, it looks super gay. And I'm like, I know, I love it. And she's like, are you going to come home non-binary? And I was like, I'm not, but definitely thought about it.
Yeah, let me tell you. It's there for you.
It's there for you. Yeah, so want to share your story there a little bit?
Sure.
Yeah.
So, okay. I realized I was bi really early on. When I was 7, I thought I was gay. Okay. And I cried to my mom about it, and I was like, I'm not ready to be gay in this world. And she goes, you're not gay. I've seen you kiss so many boys. And I'm like, fair. But like I remember seeing these commercials with these over-sexualized women just being like, ooh, I don't know what's going on with me, but I like it. So I was bi. But something still, like, I was performing being a woman, and something just felt so off. Like it just felt like I was trying to be something that I wasn't, and obviously failing at it, because that's what happens when you try to be something that you're not. Right. And I moved to Berlin about a year after. I was sitting on my couch, and I just realized that this idea of being what a woman is just really didn't feel right on my skin. And then I realized I was non-binary, or at least I started like my journey of trying to expand my gender and really pay attention to what my body wanted my gender expression to be. And I found throughout the years, like I realized that I didn't start using they them pronouns until like 4 years later. Wow. And like it was a really long journey. I shaved my head. Cool. You shave your head. Will be so hot. Like, oh my God. Really? Yeah, I shaved my head and I said, why did no one tell me that I was this beautiful? Whoa. I had no idea. Wow. And it just like struck me the gorgeousness and the gentleness of my features. Oh my goodness. Just because they're mine, not because of how they look. Yeah, yeah. And suddenly I could be this human, this expansive person, and not just be a woman or a girl or a lady. Yeah. It was amazing. Cool. Yeah. I'm going to shave my head. Please. I will. Oh my God. Maybe when I'm in Berlin. Oh, when I'm traveling. Yeah. I'll shave your head. All right. Do it for you. Do it in the summer. Yeah. Yeah. Do not do it in the winter. Yeah. It will hurt your little brain. It's so cold. Yep. And now I'm in the process of growing it out. And for me, that's really like helping me fully take in my identity. Okay. Because if I can make long hair on this body queer, just for myself, then I feel like I've really taken over my whole self with this idea of being non-binary. Cool. But what it means to me now is just realizing that there's days where I feel like I just want to be kind of a shitty skater boy. There are days where I feel like some sort of fairy, alien, nondescript something. There are days where I want to be in full girl drag and just be like, I'm feminine. And I'm just trying to listen to that ebb and flow and like let myself explore the vastness of my own gender in that way. Cool. Yeah.
So I know like for me, I had a whole journey with makeup. Like in body hair, but there's a whole story. But
that's like a good one.
But pretty much like I went cold turkey after my breakup. I was like, I'm not gonna wear makeup and I'm not gonna shave my body.
Hell yeah.
And then it was more just to realize where I am on that spectrum. I went cold turkey just to get comfortable with like having body hair and not wearing makeup. And once I felt comfortable with that, then I decided like, do I want to wear makeup now or do I want to put body hair on because now it's for like, or shave my hair because now it's for me rather than like for society. Did you have like a similar experience to that with being non-binary? Like, was it hard for you to like claim yourself? Or did you feel shame with that? And how did you get over that shame if you did?
That's a great question. Yeah, I think so. I realized who I was, came out, cut my hair really, really, really short, and then tried to see what happens if I performed masculinity instead.
Okay, so you played with it.
I played with it. And it didn't fit me because I was just going from one end of the binary to the other.
Yeah.
I didn't really like it. And then for a time, for me, my clothes really helped me sink into who I am that day. And I, for about a year, only wore either all white or all black.
Wow.
Because colors meant so much and speak such a story. And I just didn't understand what my story was yet.
Whoa. That's deep.
Yeah. So I was like, I'll mix patterns and colors soon, but right now, all black or all white. And it felt really, really good to do that. To be like, I can't say who I am yet. Let me just like take a second. And I think when I shaved my head is when I started being able to play with color again. Because I had already some sort of, at least my head represented who I felt like inside. It was really versatile.
Yeah.
And then I could sort of style myself for myself to show how I was feeling. But yeah, it's a huge long journey. I'm just stepping into myself, I think, fully now. Which I think maybe is what your 30s is about. I have no idea.
I want it right, like, you know, it could be anytime, you know?
Yeah, true.
But yeah.
Yeah. I like to think that turning 30 is me turning 0 again because I'm the baby of a decade.
Cool.
So I'm just letting myself, like, be a freshman.
Yeah.
In a way.
No, that's good. I think, like, it's great to every day you can be a freshman, you know? Like, every day is a new day. Yeah. I like to live like that, too. I think, like, it's so great to just constantly be learning things. And
yeah, well, you're doing a lot of learning.
Yeah.
Dedicating your life to learning right now. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But yeah, I think, like, thanks for sharing your non-binary, like, story. I think that a lot of people can relate.
Sorry, pause for childhood clock.
It's okay. It's a beautiful clock.
It's 4.
Maybe I'll put that in the beginning as like an intro sound.
That's nice.
That'd be cool.
Talked over it.
Fuck. Fudge.
Fork.
Shiitake mushrooms.
Whoa. My mom is right there. Sorry, Audrey.
But yeah, I think this is good. I mean, let's see. One last thing I'll say.
Yeah.
2 more things.
Bring it on.
All right. So one thing on the non-binary thing is that I just think, like, a lot of people get confused by it. And by your definition, it sounds like it's more just allowed you to be yourself and not fall under any, like, umbrella of what it means to be a man or a woman or any gender. It's kind of just like, I'm going to dress the way I want to dress, act the way I want to act. And that's what being non-binary is. Kind of just like saying I'm queer, like I'm non-binary. Does that like sum it up a little bit, would you say? Or
I think yes. Okay. My definition for myself of what it means to be non-binary, and it is different for every single person in this world who experiences that. I wouldn't trust somebody's definition who's like anti-queer, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Wouldn't listen to it. But for me, the binary what we know as binary is either a 1 or a 0.
Yeah.
It's just 2 flavors. And what being non-binary is walking through the door to the rest of the numbers. There's so many out there, but unfortunately we don't have the language to really pinpoint and pick apart the expansiveness of gender. So instead we have this one umbrella term, much like contemporary dance, which is non-binary. It just sort of means everything else. But there's so much of everything else, and it's such a flow. It's kind of hard to catch or pinpoint. So
got it.
At the same time that I'm trying to catch and pinpoint what my gender is to me, I'm also just trying to let it flow and like be a little buoy on top of it. Just follow it and let it be.
That's cool. That kind of reminds me of quantum mechanics.
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Go on.
Have you heard of superposition?
Is that where something is and isn't in a place, and if you pinpoint it, then it's no longer where it is or something?
So like that's entanglement, I think.
Okay. All right.
But it's actually a little bit of both what you're saying.
Okay.
But like superposition is like with the 1 and the 0. Because I was like, in quantum computing, there's like there's a bit, which is either like a 1 or a 0. That's like classical computers, right?
Okay, yeah.
That's what computers are made up of, bits and bytes, whatever. And then qubits in quantum computers is the superposition of a 1 and a 0 at the same time. It's kind of like...
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and that kind of just... Exactly, and it's like, it's both.
Yes.
You know?
And also,
all.
yes.
And nothing.
Everything.
It's everything.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it just reminds me of that. Which is cool.
it's the clashing and the balancing of that 1 and the 0. And also 52. And also, there's just so much to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think this is everything. Thanks so much for coming on to my podcast.
Oh my God, a pleasure.
Chatting with me.
Thank you so much. This was really amazing. And I am so happy that you're doing what you're doing.
Thanks.
Because it's really special. I've listened to a couple episodes, as I told you, and they were so inspiring and also so grounding. It was really special.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yay! A hug! A hug. Very unique, special hug. There's so many kinds.
Dunzo.
Great.